right, perfect. Okay, so a couple things. I wanted to, again, take this time, and what I've been starting to do is we're basically creating two lines of thought on how we program, and then what the exercises are the components of that program. So for example, we did a prior post, and we're going to start doing this more live stream on Instagram, but still driven through YouTube. So YouTube is our primary, as a heads up, because we can always go back there and reference it. But the first one that I did was Anatomy of a Workout 101. And so I pieced together structurally how we think of our programs and how everything is set up a specific way that serves its purpose. Again, always getting back to our mantra, train with purpose. So those are going to continue on their own line, right? So Anatomy of a Workout 101 is going to become Anatomy of a Workout 102. And I would anticipate that next week going more into structurally how I set up my days, right? So on day one, we just set up the components. What do I need to cover? Whether it's an explosive day or a strength day or a power day. So we covered those topics. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it. It's on YouTube. Second step on that will be Anatomy of a Workout 102, which will be, all right, now I'm going to set up my days and what the days are focused on throughout my week. On the other side of it, what we're going to do is we're going to lay out foundationals for specific categories of exercises. So I thought, since we are sports performance, since we're injury prevention, since this is what we do, right? We create strong, powerful athletes, period. So let's start with the most powerful thing that you can do, and that's plyometrics. From my perspective, plyometrics are perfect, especially in light of current events, because most of them are body weight driven. I can't name a whole lot of plyometrics that I'm going to do and add weight to my body. I don't know why I would do that. It's definitely a little bit problematic, but we can have that discussion on a different day. So I thought we would talk about what's a plyometric. Let's do a depth drop. I'll go through the coaching cues and what we look for, and let's do a squat jump, right? So I need your brains for about 10 minutes. Number one, plyometrics. So a plyometric is a bodyweight exercise. It is actually driven by a reflex that's kind of built into our system. It's built into our bodies and our brains. It can be practiced. It can be enhanced. This is how we improve vertical jump. This is how we improve explosivity. So what happens basically is we've got these little tiny sensors in our body, right? They're called Golgi tendons. But what they do, you don't need to remember that, but if you want to be a dork, go ahead. Or you can look it up and double check me. It exists. Golgi. But what they do is they sense the velocity at which the muscle is lengthening, right? And they create a reflex, which is just called a stretch reflex. So as I drop and land and essentially decelerate, and we'll talk about this when we do the depth drop, when I decelerate, my muscle eccentrically loads, which means that it lengthens. So when you're lengthening the muscle, you've got these little sensors that are saying, oh shit, this muscle's getting longer, right? And the more rapidly I can do that, the more rapidly that you're gonna get the opposite reaction. All right, so if it's a slow stretch, your body has time to adapt and react. That's more of a power strength exercise. But as it relates to explosivity and trying to pop and jump and get some elevation off the floor, we want to exploit that component of your natural physiology, right? This works in men and women, boys and girls of all ages, right? So this is something that we need to learn. It's something that we need to practice. It's also something that takes a hell of a lot of time. So it's not something where you're going to be like 2 weeks like, yep, dude, got this mastered. Super easy. I wish it worked that way, right? So we'll go through a natural progression where there's 4 to 6 weeks of initial adaptation, which is mostly brain. So your brain's finally figuring out, okay, I think I know what he's asking me to do. So you'll get some neuromuscular pattern improvement. And then as you begin to get into higher intensities, you will actually be able to work at a higher threshold. That's the spot that we need to be. So we actually just built an online training plan coupled with coaching accountability and Zoom calls on one side, and you've got exercise videos, layouts, programs, progressions on the other side, right? But we started everybody from the same position, meaning I really don't care who you are or what you do. I need you to be able to do these 5 things really well. And you got 3 weeks to get good at it. And then once you adapt and learn, then we can start to progress and take off your progressions. So again, not to get sidetracked, plyometrics are the basis behind a lot of things that we do. And there's an unlimited amount of variables and permutations and ways that you can augment, progress, tweak, change. What I want to do is set the foundation. So I don't give a shit. If we don't set the foundation, it's irrelevant. If you're just jumping to jump, then go jump, right? Have fun. If you're jumping to increase your vertical jump or increase your explosivity or increase your 40-yard dash time, then you absolutely have to train this way. You absolutely have to do it this way. Now, there's a million different ways to do it. There's a lot of strength coaches out there, man. I get it. But if they aren't coaching this, this, and this, then you can't get the most out of your body. And you're just going to spin your wheels, right? So I like efficiency and intensity as opposed to inefficiency and lower threshold, lower intensity, right? I'd rather do something shorter and faster than less intense and longer, all right? And basically, I played college football. So it's an anaerobic sport. FYI, most sports are anaerobic unless you're running cross country or, a long distance runner. So most sports are anaerobic on some level. Even the soccer players out there, we give them shit all the time. But I will take my soccer team, I'll pick my soccer team based on vertical jumps, not based on skills. Because I will go out and coach those kids how to dominate, and they'll kick ass on the soccer pitch. But another story. All right, so let's get started on the plyometric. So again, we've crossed, it's a stretch reflex. Everybody's got it. It needs to be practiced. It needs to be learned. It needs to be taught. It's this repetition, right? You got to do the 10,000 hours to become a master at something. So you're not just going to pick it up, but you have to have the understanding foundation. And so that's where we are today. So let's start with that. On day 1, if you came into the gym and I didn't know you, I would take you through our dynamic warm-up. I would look for strengths and weaknesses and look for range of motion and all of these things. But if we're looking at the performance route, the first thing that I would do is have you do a depth drop. Now, a depth drop for a couple reasons, and I always say this, like this is not like what you're gonna see in the Under Armour or Gatorade commercials, right? This is the foundational stuff that builds to those box jumps and to the other hurdle work and all the other stuff that goes along with that. But from my perspective as a coach, I'm looking at your ability to decelerate and stop. Because you can't decelerate and stop. You don't have tension in your muscles. You don't have the right physiology. Your brain's not firing with your body. I don't want to say you don't have the right. That's not what I mean. What I mean to say is your brain's not firing with your body. Okay? So we want to get this lined up and everything working together. So we'll start with the depth drop. These 2 exercises that we're doing today are the introductory stuff, right? These are things that we've got to do well. If you've trained with us before, you know what these are, so I'm probably not saying anything new to you. But what I want you to do is I want to try and put you in my head as to what I'm looking for as you go through these exercises, right? So it's one thing just to be on your own and doing it. It's another thing to be coached to do it. All of you guys that have had good coaches out there, you know what I'm talking about. There is a big difference between doing it to do it and being coached to do it. So I'm trying to get into we're going to coach to do it. All right. So I've got my box. Yep. It's a short one. Ariel can attest. We just trained heavy legs. So I know we still got gym access. So sorry guys. So we're still doing heavy front squats and hang cleans and all that fun shit. But we'll be back soon and hopefully you guys will too. That being said, I got a little 12-inch box. It'll be easier for me to do and talk. I don't want to get winded. I don't want to get gassed. I want to be able to coach. All right. So we're going to start with our depth drop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple reps coming towards you, and then I'll do a couple reps moving the other direction. I just want you to see both directions. So on a depth drop, I stand up to the top of the box. I am literally just going to let gravity work, right? I am stepping off the box. I'll lead with my right foot, but I want both feet to hit at the same time. And I'm then going to decelerate into my squat. Okay, now I'm gonna pause. What am I looking at as a coach? Are my feet square? Yes. Did my knees stay square and in alignment? Yes. And am I sitting down almost to parallel? Yes. I'm gonna do a couple to the side next. So those three things are hugely important. So what happens when I teach that position, and I'll go sideways here, and you can watch the hip hinge on this one. So I'm strong and stable in this position, and you can see the joint angles here. So look at my spine, look at my knees, they're at 90 degrees, and I've got a good spine. I'm not rounded, I'm not up on my toes. I am in a strong position. Basically, if you are in that position, and I came up to you and gave you a little push on the shoulder, you should be immovable. You should not have to move your feet to adjust. So you've got to have tension at the bottom. Now that starts the process of the plyometric. So where does this lead? It leads to a depth drop jump, right? So now we're looking for loading, tension, transition, and then explosion. So we're gonna do that next. So it's the exact same process. I'm gonna tie this up real quick. So it's the exact same process. I step off, I drop, load, and jump. And again, on day one, you guys are all doing this. If you don't have a box at home, you can find something. I mean, this is 12 inches high. You do not need a high box. You can find a bench. You can, if you're out at a park, you could do these at a park, right? So normally, I would probably do 2 to 3 sets of 10 reps. We generally use this as our warm-up, just kicking our brains on. So the transition from this position is now, I'm gonna step, load, jump, stick, right? So it is the same premise, load, jump, stick. And again, you can look at my feet. They're pretty square. They're a little turned out, but my legs are a little tired. We would look for feet square. I have tension at the bottom in transition. So I'm not loading forward into my knees. I actually have tension so I can pop off the floor and stick, right? So let's chat real quick. So there's 2 reasons why it's important to know the depth drop. Number 1, you can land and stick with tension. So you have the tension built up in the chain, right? So that's you controlling deceleration. That is an injury prevention mechanism, number 1. So if I can teach that ridiculously, monotonously, relentlessly, you're gonna get better at it. Step 1. Step 2, now that you can load and have tension, then we can release that tension through an explosive transition, right? So we tie all those pieces together. If you are, some of the common mistakes that we will always see is, if I'm landing, I'll see a knee collapse, right? Or I'll see one foot open and one foot in front of the other. I'm gonna favor one side. Or I'm leaning forward up on my toes to try to jump, okay? All those things tell us, as a strength coach, different strengths and weaknesses, okay? And they're all good because they're all fixable. So from our perspective, because those things are recreatable, they're safe because we're coaching, and they're implementable anywhere. Right? So those are huge positive qualities of all of these types of jumping, maneuvering exercises, but it's based on those specific mechanics. I don't care what we're doing. A squat jump, a 180 jump, a scissor jump, a tuck jump, broad jump, you name it, any variation on that. And so that's like our foundational set, right? And then everything kind of evolves from that, whether it's lateral movement, lateral explosive movement, all of those things begin to tie themselves together. So you have all of these pieces of the puzzle. That's an easy introduction to what is a plyometric, right? If you want to get into the science one day, I would love to. If any of you guys want to geek out, let me know. We can schedule a Zoom call and just talk the real science behind plyometrics. Number two, all of these are built into our online training program. And then number three, this communication is where rubber meets the road. So from our perspective, like, you can have the best plan in the world. If you're not doing it, who gives a shit? If you're doing it incorrectly, what good is it to you? And if there's no accountability, then I don't see the purpose. So that's my take. And maybe that's a little harsh, maybe that's a little black and white, but that's just how we roll. So that's what we're trying to create on all sides. So you've got your foundation, you've got your work that you need to get done, you've got your accountability, and then you also get the face-to-face, right? So whether that's Zoom, we will open our doors soon enough, right? It will be in person eventually, but I like the Zoom calls too. They work for everybody. Sometimes you can't get all the way down to the gym, that's fine. So maybe that's a new piece of our business that we add consistently, where it's like, hey man, I can't get out of the gym today. Cool, let's just hop on a Zoom call and we'll check it out. So, right, easy enough from my perspective. But I thought, again, this is just step one. So next week, what I want to do, Monday, is going to be Anatomy of a Workout 102. So it'll be structurally how we create your program, right? I would generally say 4 days a week is a good place to start for an athletic development program. Boom, Monday. Next Thursday, we'll take plyos to the next level. So we'll start introducing the first couple of exercises that we implement, the hows, the whys, and let's get a little bit more aggressive with it, meaning I'll probably bring Ariel down here because he's a better jumper than me, and then I can coach him through it. So if he's watching right now, yep, I see some, yeah, I definitely think we should get Ariel down here. Votes for Ariel to come down and do this? Yes, good. So next Thursday, we'll bring Ariel down to do it. But again, what I want to do is I want to coach up these Plyo 101s because the summer is coming. The fall seasons are coming. I'm already thinking September, guys. So let's get there. Let's get on the same page. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you just caught the tail end of it, you can go to YouTube, and check it out and see the replay. Outside of that, if you got questions, just direct message us, man. Just message us, text us, email still works, Skype. Everything still works technologically, so we're not hard to find. That's all I know. That's all I got. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you didn't, well, tune in next week because it's going to get harder. So that's it, guys. Peace out. Thank you.